This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, May 5th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hello, and thank you for joining us. Many communities across Canada are holding events today for the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. It's also known as Red Dress Day. Laura Sharpaletti has more on how some women mark the day in Regina.
Indigenous women, each with their own story to tell, gathered here at the Saskatchewan Legislature. They are calling on the government to commit to ending systemic racism and violence against Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirited people.
Today, we mark Red Dress Day, but it's important to note that for us, Indigenous women, every day is Red Dress Day. We Indigenous women endure disproportionate levels of violence.
Nippy Albright says this violence often comes from government's failure to act. She says these missing and murdered women are not statistics, they're human beings. Amber Redmond was one of those women.
I am a mother who stands before you, who went through this pain, this loss. My daughter was only 19 years old when she was taken. It took us 2 years and 10 months for us to find her remains, and we only found 42% of her remains.
Amber Redmond disappeared in 2005 after being last seen in a bar in Fort Capel. In 2009, Albert Patrick Bellegarde was sentenced for her killing. FSIN 3rd Vice Chief Ali Bear says there is inaction in Saskatchewan communities when Indigenous women go missing.
We have women going missing every day, and it's not taken seriously. It's not in the media. Amber alerts are not issued. Where is this criteria coming from that we are not allowed to have this awareness?
Bear is also calling on the government to implement 231 calls to action laid out in the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. She says those steps will move us closer to ending the genocide against Indigenous women and girls. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
Last weekend, the Archbishop of Canterbury apologized to residential school survivors in a visit to Saskatchewan, many of whom find it difficult to talk about their experiences. That's the case for Mary Sanderson, who attended Lac La Ronge Residential School. Her son is trying to piece together that history. As Renee Lilly reports, some archival footage is helping him with that.
Rare archival footage of the All Saints Residential School in Lac La Ronge, Saskatchewan. And Roger Sanderson was surprised to see a familiar face.
My sister Irene looks exactly like her at that age.
A child who he believes is his mom.
She has lots of memories of going to the residence, but she doesn't really open up to talk about actually being there or what they did. She kind of clammed up and saying that, yes, I went to school there, but that was it.
He says his mom, Mary Georgina, attended All Saints from the age of 6 to 9.
She lost that human and community connection that you develop as you're growing up, whereas I got it from my grandparents, and learning to live off the land. I learned that, and my mother didn't learn that.
Sanderson says he saw the video on a La Ronge online community page. Teron Roberts found it in the archives and posted it.
I'm really ecstatic and happy that somebody found somebody that, I don't know if you had pictures of them before, but like to see him, her mom as a child, you know what I mean, that all the stuff that she probably told him about, all the stuff he went through, and then to see what she saw, I'm really happy for him.
Sanderson himself attended Timber Bay Children's Home in the 1960s, as the third generation in his family to attend a residential school. He says he would get belted often and would run away. He remembers one time he was so tired he fell asleep on a beach.
And then when I woke up, there was these two RCMP officers standing over me. So they took me back to the Timber Bay residence. Then I got locked in the cellar for, I don't know how long, but I was in there for quite a while. And every other day I'd get a couple of twacks with the belt. But after I was free from all that, I ran away. And this time I knew which direction to go. And I made it home to La Ronge.
Mary Georgina Sanderson's mom is still alive, living in the community's long-term care home. He attempted to show her the footage, but she closed her eyes to it, staying silent. Sanderson still plans to share it with other family members.
I think that shock has worn off, but I am going to be using it when I talk to my grandchildren, show it to them, to pass on the information.
Renee Lilly for CBC Indigenous.
The National Indian Residential School Crisis Line provides support to any survivors and others affected. You can access services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The number 1-866-925-4419. The medicine wards in the Regina and Saskatoon hospitals remain over capacity, which means it takes longer for someone who needs a hospital bed to get one. Earlier this week, Opposition Leader Ryan Miley said there were 68 patients in Saskatoon waiting in emergency for a bed on the medicine ward. The two cities have been at or above 100% capacity in those medicine wards for a number of weeks. Health Minister Paul Merriman says there are tremendous pressures in Regina and Saskatoon in those areas. He says the government has committed to recruiting and retaining staff and invested in new urgent care centers. And he says the SHA is trying to deal with the current extended pressure.
Right now, most of the issues that we have are in and around the human resource side of things, and we're working very diligently to see if there's extra shifts that can be picked up, if we can make sure that we're providing the best possible care. Understanding that the staff is doing a lot, but right now we're just seeing some seasonal influxes, as well as what's layered on top of the existing COVID problems within our healthcare system.
Merriman says while the two cities are over capacity, overall provincial capacity for medicine beds is 96%. He says work is being done to open 10 high acuity beds in Regina that would serve to help patients between the ICU and the medicine ward. Let's take a look at the latest Saskatchewan COVID-19 data. The government's latest weekly situation report came out this afternoon. The information reflecting what happened from April 24th to 30th, with the exception of hospitalizations. There are 14 new deaths to report. 10 of them occurred during the reporting period. The other 4 happened between February 20th to April 18th and were just reported today. The pandemic death toll now 1,324. As of yesterday, 390 people with COVID-19 were in Saskatchewan hospitals. That is a decrease of 19 patients from last week. 20 people are receiving intensive care. A man serving time at the Saskatchewan Penitentiary for a different crime is now charged in connection with a 2017 shooting in Saskatoon. 22-year-old Levi Dana George McAdam appeared in court yesterday, charged with first-degree murder. Police laid the charge against McAdam in Prince Albert, where he's serving a sentence for dangerous driving. It's alleged that when McAdam was 18, he shot Tyler Morin in the stomach on November 4th of 2017. It happened at a home in the 200 block of Avenue B South. Morin died of his injuries a week later in hospital. At the time of the shooting, police said they believed the victim knew the shooter, but that a suspect had not been identified. Police and fire officials are investigating after a motel near Waskesiu burned down yesterday afternoon. The motel was located behind a gas station on the same property. The owner tells CBC he was working inside the station when a driver told him the building was on fire. By then, it was too late to do anything, and the structure was a total loss. Thankfully, no one was inside. Firefighters were able to save the gas station and restaurant. The cause of the fire is under investigation. If you take the bus in Regina or are considering it with rising fuel prices, some news about the new Transit Master Plan. It's been approved and it will see some people riding for free as well as many route changes. City Council says the goal is to give Regina Transit a greener, more efficient future. The plan calls for diesel buses to be replaced with electric ones by 2040. It will also move the current bus hub from outside the Cornwall Centre to Albert or Broad Streets to reduce congestion and improve air quality. Not everyone is enthusiastic about the changes.
My mother here takes the bus with me just about every day, and it's convenient because we get off here and we just have to walk a block. Now we're going to have to walk about 4 blocks. They should ask people first.
Other changes in the master plan include on-demand paratransit service, free fares for anyone 12 and under, extended hours and newer altered bus routes. This all has to be approved by City Council before going into effect, and so far there are no immediate timelines for when that could happen. Earlier this week, we got a look at how Regina plans to tackle construction season. Today, the city of Saskatoon unveiled its plans, and it comes with some big improvements to some of the most traveled roadways. Saskatoon has put aside just over $65 million for road and bridge construction and maintenance. One of the most significant orange zones will be set up in a few weeks on Circle Drive North between Alberta Avenue and Miller Avenue.
Work is going to begin here in the next week or so, and we anticipate it'll take about 2 months to complete the Circle Drive North project. It will be done in phases. When the concrete work is being done, it will be done first, and when it's being done, there will be lane restrictions adjacent to the curbs where the concrete work is being done. And then when we resurface it, we will be closing all of the eastbound lanes, and that work will be done at night, and then the eastbound lanes will be reopened again at 7 in the morning. So approximately 2 months of work, and then returning next year to complete the resurfacing on the westbound lanes.
The Spadina Crescent Bridge will be fully closed for approximately 1 month beginning next week. And there are major plans for Atridge Drive and different parts of Warman Road as well. Roads and sidewalks will be improved in residential areas while also replacing water main and lead service lines. The city's goal is to have all lead service line connections replaced by 2027. It is that time of year when birds make long journeys to their northern breeding grounds for the summer, but the trip can be treacherous. One Regina business has discovered how deadly bird strikes can be, and as Fiona Odlum reports, it's trying to prevent them.
It was awful. There were so many of them.
It's a day Renate Terwiger will never forget. She was working at a Regina care home when she spotted 18 Bohemian waxwings dead in the snow. They'd eaten fermented berries off a tree near the building and flew into the glass surrounding the deck.
Lots of them had the berries in their mouths so you could tell they were eating the berries in mid-flight.
Terwiger had the residents make paper hearts to put on the glass to make the glass more visible. It worked for a couple days, but didn't fix the problem.
We get at least 100 birds in that actually had survived the collision that people found and brought into the clinic for rehabilitation.
The care home knew the paper hearts were only a temporary solution, so Salthaven suggested they enlist the help of the bird-friendly city team.
Get it on evenly. Here's the tape.
The team is trying to make Regina a bird-safe city. When volunteers heard about the bird strikes here, they knew exactly how to fix the problem.
The feather-friendly tape is highly effective, affordable, minimally impactful on your view. It's a much better solution to a hawk silhouette or some sort of a UV decal.
Now that the tape is up, Gamble believes this could save hundreds of birds.
This one deck is responsible for, let's just say, 50 bird fatalities a year. In 10 years, that's 500 birds.
The volunteers are happy knowing they're preventing bird strikes here and thrilled that businesses are doing their part too.
One of the residents, while we were applying the tape, one of the residents came out and said, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're doing something to fix this because I love birds." So it's for the people that live here, and it's always heartwarming to know how many people care about birds.
Fiona Odlum, CBC News, Regina.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. The exclusive export event is back.
Almost a sunscreen kind of day today. It's like we've gone right into summer weather. Ethan Williams joins me now with a look at your forecast. I am hoping you're going to tell me this holds up for the weekend.
You can hope all you want, Sam, but looks like some cooler temperatures and some rain on the way. I know some farmers won't be complaining about the rain, especially in the western half of the province. And speaking of farms, we did get our first crop report today. This is for the week of April 26th through May 2nd. Only about a percentage of crop in the ground. This time last year, we were at about 10%. The 5-year average is around 5% for this time of year, but we had very little precipitation this past week. That means that soaked fields in the southeast should be getting a break. And for those of you in the west that need the rain, there's a little bit of more runoff than this time last year, so there will be possibly some irrigation for you folks. We turn to pasture conditions now, and really anywhere you go, they're not great. Poor to very poor conditions all across the province. And as we get into the warmer conditions now, we're also looking out for wildfire danger. The northern half of the province spared at this point, but south central and southwestern Saskatchewan, conditions there are favorable for wildfire development. The Saskatchewan Public Safety Association today saying that we are in for an above average, potentially, fire season this year, so do be careful. 25 RMs, or just about, have put fire bans in place so far this year, so check those before you do any burns or fires or anything like that. But we will see some rain from a couple of systems. We're watching this low pressure system move in from Alberta, and that'll bring showers and thunderstorms for some parts of the province tomorrow. And then as we go into Saturday, we're looking for another system moving in from the States, which is going to bring a good soaking to the south and central part of the province. And then it will clear out by the time we go through the rest of the weekend. Let's just focus on this next system moving in, which is tomorrow before we get to the system on Saturday. And we're looking generally at wide-ranging amounts in the north, a little heavier as you work your way toward Meadow Lake, maybe even 10 millimeters possible there. For the south and central part of the province, this is just for tomorrow. We're looking at anywhere between 1 and 5 millimeters, and keep in mind that these amounts, some of them could be a little higher just in thunderstorms, locally higher amounts. We are going to be dealing with wind gusts as well tomorrow. That'll be the real situation in the southwest part of the province, gusts between 60 and 80 kilometers an hour there tomorrow. For the rest of the province, it will be quite a breezy day, and as that second system moves in on Saturday, we'll look for mostly the south part of the province to gust between 50 and 60 kilometers an hour. Still breezy on the backside of that low, though, in the northern part of the province. Let's take a look at the next 7 days in Regina, where we have that risk of storms tomorrow. 22, a breezy day. That system on Saturday could bring up to 10 millimeters of rain, and then a real cool down, just a real rainy pattern here for the next foreseeable future. And Saskatoon, 21 tomorrow. No chance of storms there at this point, but maybe a shower or two. We'll see some rain showers on Saturday, but not quite as much, I think, as we're going to pick up in Regina, maybe 2 to 4 millimeters. Could see some sunny breaks as we head into Monday, and then the weather cools down a bit more. So looking like Mother's Day, you might want to have some indoor plans. Maybe cook a nice breakfast for Mom instead of going to the park, Sam.
Good advice. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we go, some news about Saskatchewan's bid to host the IIHF World Junior Hockey Championship in 2023. Regina Mayor Sandra Masters acknowledged that Regina and Saskatoon did not have a successful bid this afternoon, but she does hope that Canada comes out on top. The winning bid went to Moncton and Halifax. And that is it for us today. For News Anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.